everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend with us. We have a delightful, very educational, inspiring talk for you. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of the continuum of stress and then move down the path to trauma, what that does to the brain. And then we're going to talk about ways to address both of these issues: stress, autonomic nervous system balance, central nervous system equilibrium, physiology of PTSD, conventional therapies, and then what the world can do with advanced neuroscience. So again, welcome everybody. Stay on mute if you can, and if you can't, Amy will hunt you down and take good care of you. So let's roll. Let's start with kind of what it means to be a human being and kind of the challenges we face. And some of this, I see a lot of people on here who've been to a lot of lectures, and you'll remember what I'm about to talk about. And then others of you are this is new information, and it shouldn't be new information. It's rather shameful that our education system doesn't share with us a physiology of what it means to be a human being. So let's start at the highest level. The body and the brain have two nervous systems. You have the central nervous system, and you have the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system shouldn't be a foreign concept, but many people don't know what it is. The central nervous system has a very, very defined hierarchy of needs and determined kind of intention. Number one, the central nervous system is designed to keep us alive. Self-preservation is number one. And this is fascinating because you can see and feel and experience the concept, even though we've never really been aware of what's happening. But let's think through a first experience, okay? There's nothing like a first impression, right? There's no such thing as a second impression. What happens when we are engaged in something new, where we are put into a situation, environment that's new? And why are we so fatigued when we're done with this situation? It is because the central nervous system has 5 senses in your intuition. So let's say 6 senses. And it is all on hypervigilant, high alert. Why? Because your central nervous system is constantly looking for familiarity and security. If we have familiarity and security, we can take a rest. We can actually engage in intellectual curiosity and personality and patience and focus. If we don't have familiarity and security, we will not take a rest. Our peripheral, our olfactory, our tactile, everything is in high order. Everything is in a hypervigilant state because we are assessing everything all the time. So it doesn't matter what this experience is, but as today, our focal point is military, active DOD, veterans, and first responders. Invariably, by virtue of your career choice, you're put into a unique situation on a regular basis. And this unique situation commands the full attention of all of your senses and has a natural fatigue level to it. So the central nervous system is designed for self-preservation, protect us. Creatures of habit, all of us are. You know, sometimes, hey, you're such a creature of habit. Yeah, every human being on earth is a creature of habit. If you weren't, you would be so fatigued. You'd have adrenal fatigue by 20 years old. You'd have immunosuppressive diseases by 25, and you'd be dead by 30. Creature of habit is a good thing. Creature of habit is telling your central nervous system to relax. The second nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is like a seesaw. It is a zero-sum game. You have the sympathetic response, which is the stress response, and you have the parasympathetic response, which is the rest response. Now, interestingly enough, when you think about the evolution of our brain, social psychology, neuronal circuitry, all the sophisticated elements of what makes up our brain and all the meticulous design that's happening behind our eyes, the autonomic nervous system probably has more impact on our daily function. The autonomic nervous system governs human fear, stress, anxiety, depression, and worry. Human fear, stress, anxiety, depression, and worry. Does any of that sound familiar? Yes, it does. Every single day, we deal with some level on this continuum of fear, stress, anxiety, depression, and worry. That is governed by the autonomic nervous system. The hypervigilant fight or flight is governed by the autonomic nervous system. And when you think through the brain, your daily activity, your to-do list, your stress, your expectation, your insecurity, your confusion, it's really a resource battle. So if we broke this down to the fundamentals of mathematics, it's resource allocation. So any of you who've been in business or in the military or whatever you're doing, resource allocation makes good sense, right? Where am I going to deploy resources to? What needs to happen? What's the hierarchy? What are the things that need to happen today? What are the nice to haves? What are the must haves? Resource allocation. Your brain does the same thing, except that the resource is oxygen rich red blood cells. So I step into an environment I'm not familiar with. My brain is constantly looking around at everything to determine, is there a familiarity? Is there security? And is there a pattern I can benchmark to and anchor to? If there is, I can take a breath and relax. If there is not, I will elicit the activity of the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is fear, stress, anxiety, depression, and worry. And so the resources, oxygen-rich red blood cells, are going to go from this part of my brain to this part of my brain. Now, this part of my brain, the prefrontal and frontal cortex, is what separates us from primates. This part of our brain is about 4 million years evolved, 4 million years of advanced neural circuitry, continuous improvement, learning, evolution. This part of my brain, the autonomic nervous system, fear, stress, anxiety, depression, and worry, is 40 million years evolved. So we're dealing with a 36 million year head start of the human fight or flight response. Our brain has not caught up to our conventional life, right? We're not in fear and in danger of starvation or attack or predators on a regular basis, but our brain circuitry hasn't evolved to catch up. Okay. So the central nervous system says, hey, we're in an unfamiliar place and I'm confused and I'm scared. All the resources from here, which define me as a human, which is my personality, my character, my patience, my left brain logic, my analysis, my cognitive thinking, my ability to be focused, all of that goes away because all the oxygen-rich red blood cells go to the primordial piece of my brain, the reptilian brain, as I elicit a fight or flight response to activate everything I can inside my body, my organs and all these activities to stay alive. So when we understand this, it's really easy to see how the career choice of the military or a first responder will invariably end in fatigue. That's life. Why? Because we don't have an everlasting tank of fuel. And every time you have to react to something, whether it's a first responder, whether it's a military operative, doesn't matter what you're responding to, but every time you do, you're asking for a lot of resources internally of all my organs, my visceral organs, my blood flow, my heart, but really the oxygen-rich blood cells of my brain. So there are 7.6 billion people on this earth today. And we're amazingly complex. Humans are amazing. We have such a gift of intellect and intellectual curiosity, of ingenuity, but we also are stuck in patterns and we don't evolve and change that quickly because of the central nervous system's desire for patterns. So we don't step out of our comfort zone very often. But we're challenged with the fact that mentally, we feel like we can overcome anything all the time, every time. And we tap into our resilience on a regular basis. And this is great for the near term, but it's not good for the midterm and it's terrible for the long term. So when you look at the literature and you see that 95% of all diseases are created by stress, that should alarm everybody. But it doesn't seem to, because as complex and amazing as the human being is, there are a couple blind spots that are self-evident. Number one, we seem wholly incapable of fully understanding the intangibles. Our brain, if we can't see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, we don't really understand if it's there or not. It almost plays tricks on us. Is stress really there, or is it in my hand, or isn't it? The second thing is our time horizon. When you're in your 10s and your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, this sense of, hey, 30 years from now, I'm going to be debilitated. 30 years from now, when I start smoking a cigarette at 18 and I don't stop, I'm going to die of lung cancer. We can't seem to reconcile that and resolve that to change our behaviors in the near term. So in the near term, we ask a lot of ourselves. In the midterm, we will be challenged. And in the long term, we will be dead. That's kind of how this works. So stress creates 95% of all diseases. How? Why? Well, it's really quite simple. Your body, even though we have not really caught up to it, your body demands rest. Your body demands restoration. Your body demands recovery. It needs this to stay alive, to stay resilient. When you think about human biology, think about all your cells, trillions of cells in your body communicating with each other. That's how this works. Your cells communicate with each other. Biology is sharing of information. Each cell has a job. Each cell has a function. So over the course of time, we go through puberty. We're immediately hormonally dysregulated. We lose our circadian rhythm, and kind of we reach diminished returns after puberty. Life is not as easy. It's not as fair. It is not as good after puberty. That's kind of a bummer, isn't it? Well, why is that? Well, it's because of stress. It's because of society. It's because of mores and norms and expectations. It's because of our lifestyle. It's because of all the external issues going on, the toxins in the environment and technology and bad food and all the things that are happening with that aspect of growing up. But in reality, what happens is this. If I don't sleep well and I develop a pattern of poor sleep, my cells don't do their job. The second stage of sleep, which is theta brainwave function, a slower brainwave function above deep sleep, is the only time that your cells clean their toxins and the mitochondria is restored. This is the healing zone of humans. It is the second stage of sleep. It's commensurate with lucid dream state and REM. This is the healing zone. So over the course of time, if I repeatedly get poor sleep, whether it's the number of hours of sleep or just the quality of my sleep, I am losing my cell's ability to clean and do their maintenance and restore their energy source. So over the course of time, the poor sleep will catch up to you. Also, if you sleep poorly, you have to kind of ask a lot of yourself to get through that day. And a lot of times we use external stimulation. So if we need to be amped up, we'll drink caffeine. 3 or 4 cups of caffeine, coffee a day, that's not good for you. It's not good for your gut. It's not good for your microbiome. It's not good for the acid in your tummy. Or we will be in psychic pain and challenged, and we'll drink alcohol or use drugs. So the brain knows how to kind of get us through this stuff. That kind of aids in our resilience and our ability to perform in the near term today with the compromise of the midterm and the long term. So as we age from puberty on, we are hitting this diminished return where every day we're not getting the restoration we need. We're not getting the sleep we need. Our cells aren't cleaning their toxins. The mitochondria is not restored. And over the course of time, we will begin to break down and our cells will forget to do their job. That's how disease proliferates. Now, there is no timeline. We don't know, everybody on this call, we don't know when disease is going to rear its head. We just know that over a course of time, all of us are human. All of us are subject to the same physiology, whether it's your epigenetics, whether it's your environment, whether it's your ability or inability to have behavioral modification, whether you have mindfulness, whether you don't, all these variables come into play. But the hardcore reality is everybody on this call and everybody on this planet walking the earth today will die from stress, unless you are lucky to die from an accident. That is the future. That's what we have today to deal with. So this stress piece is really, really complicated, not easy for us to understand, and really detrimental in the event that you choose to live a consequence of negative cycle of high stress, poor sleep, high stress, poor sleep, high stress, poor sleep. You live this cycle, and it is a absolute law, an immutable law. You will die from disease created by the stress. That's how this works. Good example is cancer. Every single one of us has cancer in our body today. Every single one, we do. But we also have a killer cell. The killer cell has a really cool job. Its job is to go locate cancer cells, introduce itself, and kill them. That's pretty cool. That's a good job. Over the course of time, high stress, poor sleep, high stress, poor sleep, self-medication with alcohol, whatever it is we choose to do, The cells don't clean their toxins, the mitochondria is not restored, and over the course of time, I'm 42, 43, 48, 49, 51, 52, whatever it is, the cell forgets its job. So the killer cell goes and locates the cancer cells and says, whoa, this is cool. This is a cool party. And instead of killing it, it joins it. That's how this starts. Now, cancer, not coincidentally, feeds off of stress and sugar. That's kind of how that works as well. So hopefully you guys have a better understanding of kind of just the landscape we have as a human being. And hopefully just by understanding a little bit of the central nervous system versus the autonomic nervous system, the resource allocation of oxygen-rich red blood cells, where our body chooses to focus energy, this will help you to understand. Most of the time as humans, we find ourselves comparing ourselves and judging others really quickly and not really understanding why someone does what they do. Well, when I'm in stress, my prefrontal cortex has no oxygen, has no blood flow of oxygen-rich red blood cells. So I'm not thinking clearly. So I'm not activating and thinking about my character, my nobility, my understanding of right from wrong. I'm in survival mode and there's no access here. All the blood flow and all the resources are here. This is my primordial midbrain, my survival mechanism. This is my stress, my fear, my worry, my depression, my anxiety. That's how this works. So the reason that our team wanted to get first responders and military on a call is that it's an incredible, noble endeavor you've chosen on your career path. You didn't have to. If you live in America, hopefully you live in free will. You can do what you want to do. You chose a career of service. You chose to help. That's amazing. And we are very grateful, appreciative, and we think it's an honorable, incredible thing you do. At the same time, we also know that you're human and your humanity is going to challenge you in the later years of your life because of your career choice, simply because you have a reactionary stress response that's constant. And most military, most first responders live with their foot on the accelerator for the entirety of their life. And that's a problem, and that's a challenge. And if you say, hey, you really need to find a mindful practice, you need to change some of your behaviors, and you need to modulate your stimulation. You need to be able to down-regulate your sympathetic nervous system, slow down your stress response, and up-regulate your healing response. Okay, that's great. How do we do that? Well, you can do yoga, you can do Tai Chi, you can do deep breathing methods. There's a lot of things you can do. I don't know a lot of military personnel, active DOD. I don't know a lot of first responders that are great at meditation, nor do I know a lot of folks that are going to take the time to try to figure it out. Meditation is difficult. Meditation is one of those weird nebulous things where no one really can articulate what it is. There's nothing in the English language to share with you what it is. It's really hard to do because there's no clear understanding of the tangible outcome of meditation. Most people engage in this guilt and shame pattern where I feel ashamed of myself that I can't even meditate when I don't even really know what it means to meditate. So it's very confusing. Again, one of the blind spots of being human is we don't fully understand the intangible. So we're set up here for failure, and we were before COVID. 20 months into COVID, the world is upside down, okay? And things are really, really, really demanding that we understand better the balance between the stress response and the rest response. So you couldn't ask for a better time in this world than for Blake Holloway's invention, his patented neuroacoustic software and patented technology to be here today. The world needs something like NuCalm, because for many of us, we will not take the time, have the persistence, dedication to go and learn meditation. We just won't do it. And if we don't do it, we will be consumed with the same path of every person that's come before us and every person that's going to live after us. And that is live, 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 push, 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 stress, 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 and die of a miserable, stressful death. Cardiovascular disease, cancer, immunosuppressive diseases of the gut. It's not, hey, I wonder, if this is going to happen. It will happen. And interestingly enough, on your death certificate, it's not going to say, hey, Mr. Poole, he died of stress. No, it won't say that. It'll say, Mr. Poole, he died of cancer. Mr. Poole, he died of irritable bowel syndrome. Mr. Poole, he died of ulcerative colitis. Mr. Poole died from worrying too much. He had colitis. Mr. Poole died of cardiovascular disease. That's how this works. So let's take a breath and stop and say, okay, wow, I wish we were educated on this in school or anywhere. I wish I knew that this part of my brain was 4 million years evolved. This reptilian part of my brain was 40 million years evolved, that I was fighting a 36 million year head start, that when I'm triggered and my central nervous system has a fear response, it triggers this activity and I go back to the well. And if I'm prone to depression, I become more depressed. If I'm prone to anxiety, I become more anxious. If I'm prone to worry, I worry more. I wish I knew this when I was a younger man, because it would allow me to place less judgment on myself, less shame cycle, and actually find ways to get through this. So let us introduce to you NuCalm. NuCalm, NuCalm, a NuCalm. You could liken old calm to be drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol are amazingly predictable. Your brain knows, hey, if I'm in psychic pain, I'm having a really tough day, and I have a glass of wine or a beer, wow, does that feel good? Why is that? Well, because the body's built with this thing called the GABAergic system, and alcohol binds to the GABA receptor site and creates an immediate anxiolytic or relaxing response. Great. No judge, no harm, no worry. It is what it is. We choose the life we choose, and we try to take care of ourselves in any manner that we can. Sometimes we think we control ourselves more than we do. We have very, very, very low levels of control over ourselves. What's in control is our central nervous system, which is in control is self-preservation. So that's the stress response. Each of us live the same stress response. It doesn't matter what the external stimuli is. So William and Steve and David and Lori, your stress externally may be different than mine. Okay, fair enough. We don't live the same life. But the physiological response of your stress, William, Steve, David, and Lori, is exactly identical. Central nervous system deems something is not safe, activates the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal cortex, floods the body and the brain with cortisol, adrenaline, catecholamines. Blood supply leaves the periphery of my body, go to my visceral organs, my heart palpitates, my breath is shallow, my cognition is diminished, and I am in survival mode. I can't tell you what that's going to be for me. I don't really deal a lot with anxiety or depression, but definitely fight or flight, physically in danger, almost get in a car accident, feel physically threatened by a group of people, whatever. So there's definitely that fight or flight element. But in reality, this is really important. We need not judge others on how they behave when we elicit a fight or flight response. The fight or flight response is the same within each human being. It's a physiological step-by-step process that happens within a nanosecond. This all happens without our permission. You don't ask yourself, hey, let me activate my fight or flight response. Let me activate my fear response. You don't ask yourself anything. Your body just does it. Self-preservation. So that's stress. And when you work in the military, you work as a first responder, it's different than civilian life. I don't get up in the daytime and decide what I'm going to do and then have to react to other people's trauma. It doesn't work like that for me. I get to be proactive in my schedule. I don't have to be reactionary. But if I'm an EMT or if I'm a nurse or a doctor or whatever, I'm reacting to everybody else's life, everybody else's trauma, accident, whatever that is. And I can't tell you, I can't say, hey, at 2:00 this afternoon, there's going to be a automobile accident. 3 people are going to perish and 2 people are going to need my attention immediately. It doesn't work that way. So this constant reactionary world has us like this. We're constantly on edge. You can never really take a break. Back in the day, you guys had beepers and stuff, right? In the first responder world, you can never take a break. That beeper was like, hey, this is cortisol 101. It's always going to be with you. So you have this beeper, and what it is it tethers you to a life of perpetual cumulative stress and poor sleep. That thing's like a deadly instrument. Think about it. That wasn't helping anybody. So this lifestyle leads to cumulative negative consequence of being human and eventually suffering. Okay, now let's talk about the furthest continuum. Let's talk about trauma. Let's talk about trauma of seeing things your brain can't understand. Let's talk about physical, emotional, psychological, sexual abuse, whatever it is. Trauma is trauma. It doesn't really matter what the trauma is, the magnitude does, but it doesn't matter what the trauma is. It changes the physiology and the brain chemistry of the human being that's traumatized. Again, there's no judgment here. It is what it is. It happened. The body doesn't judge you, doesn't say, hey, you were weak, or hey, you did this, or it doesn't work that way. Anatomy physiology has no hypothesis and no ego and no desired intent. It's just surviving. So in the traumatized brain, interesting things happen. And if you think about the 7 diagnosable anxiety disorders that are in the DSM-5, trauma is the farthest continuum of the most difficult profile to live with. And why is that? When you are traumatized, your central nervous system, self-preservation and survival, loses faith in the universe. And more importantly, and more detrimental, loses faith in you to protect yourself from the universe. This is really important to note, because if my central nervous system loses faith in the universe, I'm alone. If my central nervous system loses faith in me, I've lost control. And that's exactly what happens. How does this happen? If you look at a PET scan of a normal brain and a traumatized brain, it's alarming to see diminutive blood supply to the hippocampus, which is our memory center, and the prefrontal and frontal cortex, which is our cognition, our character, our patience, our presence. Therein lies the riddle. It's not really a riddle. Just because we can't see the pain and trauma and the change physiologically and biochemically to the brain of a traumatized person doesn't mean it's not real. It's the challenge and the plague of us not understanding the tangible and intangible. It's the understanding or lack of understanding what the central nervous system's role is and the autonomic nervous system's role is. It's our ability to quickly judge because we're just in this built up pattern of neural circuitry that's constantly evaluating us versus others because we're alone in this world. There's a lot of complex issues resulting in this kind of behavioral pattern that results from trauma. It's no judgment. It happened. It happened. Now, how do you resolve it? That's the challenge. We judge people who are traumatized. First of all, half the time we don't believe that they are traumatized because we don't see a cast on their head. We don't see them on crutches or in a wheelchair. We say, yeah, I don't think so. Because sometimes they're normal, sometimes they're not. So that kind of behavioral issue where it's kind of if and when that pattern doesn't jive with me. So I don't know whether to believe them or not. Things trigger. They're exacerbated. So the challenge of the physiological response, and this is real, this is true, this is science, it's physiology. When the hippocampus blood flow is diminished and the prefrontal frontal cortex blood flow is diminished, I'm stuck as a traumatized human being living in the hell of the memory that triggers the physiological fight or flight response. Doesn't matter what it is. But my daylight and my nighttime activity will constantly be plagued with triggers from the memory of the trauma and the connection to the fight or flight. So the physiological outcome of trauma is a hypervigilant state where I can never take a breath. I can never relax. I think that we shouldn't judge those folks that have sacrificed so much to protect us. Are they the same person when they come back from the theater of war than when they left? Hell no. And it's sad and it sucks. And the physiological response is there and it's true. So this person living in this constant state of vigilance, do you know what it's like? Think about when you've had a stressful period, a divorce, a death of a loved one, you're caretaking for someone you love who's dying, whatever that is, and it's a long term, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, you have the resolution and the resilience to get through it, man. And the people around you don't know what you're going through, but you know what you're going through, and you can step up and sustain and be there. And boy, are you asking a lot. You're literally losing years off your life every time you go through a prolonged stress period in your life today. And we do this through resilience, but when we're done and we can finally take a breath, we get sick, we lose it, because we no longer have to hit that HPA axis and that stress response. We don't have to anymore. And it takes a while. There's almost like a shock and an aftershock to this experience. Well, to the hypervigilance and to the brain of a traumatized person, they never get that endpoint. They never get to that point of rest. And then who are we to judge that they find an outlet through alcohol and drugs, which your central nervous system, not your brain, not your character, your nobility, your morality, your right from wrong. Hey, I want to take care of my kids and my spouse. Has nothing to do with that. Your central nervous system has everything to do with self-preservation, and it knows, hey, Jim, if you go and get me a beer, I can resolve some psychic pain and I can actually take a step back, and tomorrow I'll deal with my problems. I promise you. That's what I'll do. That's how this proliferates. What are we going to do about it? Conventional therapy is not working. I'm a big fan of data. I'm not a mathematician, but I'm good at math and I'm good at numbers and figures. I'm going to give you an equation that'll blow your marbles. The central nervous system is self-preservation, survival. The autonomic nervous system is our behavior, our sympathetic nervous system, our parasympathetic nervous system, our stress versus our rest. It also governs human fear, stress, anxiety, depression, and worry. So I'm depressed. That's an autonomic nervous system problem. So why would I go to a doctor in America and have them prescribe to me a pill that's a central nervous system suppressant to address an autonomic nervous system problem? That equation doesn't work, you guys. It hasn't worked. It will continue not to work. The central nervous system suppressant may take me out of acute trauma, acute pain. All it's doing is masking the symptomology of a root cause issue in the autonomic nervous system that I'm never getting to. And one of the challenges beyond not solving the problem, the other challenge is each of us in this amazing neural circuitry is a closed loop ecosystem that's highly compensatory. Every one of us is a closed loop ecosystem of millions and millions and millions and millions and billions of cells. And anytime I do anything to my body and my brain, the body has a compensation mechanism. So you take a central nervous system suppressant to address an autonomic nervous system problem. No, why would I do that? And when I do, I may have some remediation of the pain. It may dull my senses. It may put me in this apathetic state. But my body says, what are you doing? Why are you doing that to me? Because I'm going to compensate. And then you build side effects to the medication you're taking that's not even addressing the problem. This is a problem. And it sickens me knowing that as a father of 3 girls, 19, 17, and my youngest daughter will be 15 on Sunday. It sickens me to see the proliferation of antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs and Adderall and all this stuff that our kids are being prescribed. Their brains have not even evolved yet. And you're compromising them for the rest of their life, and you're not even solving the problem. That is a problem. Dr. Holloway, the esteemed neuroscientist, quantum physicist, naturopath, who's angelic in his nature, brilliant in his brain, and just persistent at a level that you'd never expect. When you think of persistence, determination, you think of warriors, you think of military, high-end operatives, you think of athletes. You would not think of a diminutive Texas neuroscientist with Asperger's. That's not the profile that I would think about for someone with a dedication, persistence, and determination to change the world. And that's exactly what he did. And he did this because of his demand that today's conventional therapy isn't working. When you sit across the table from someone and you can feel their pain, they can't even look you in the eyes because of shame, guilt, fear, confusion, vulnerability. They're fucking scared. And to sit across the table and issue them a prescription for a central nervous system suppressant where you know full well that's not going to help anything but dull the pain, you're condemning them to a life of misery. And overall, and over time, we blame people for taking their own life. All they are is saying, I give up, I'm fatigued, I can't live like this for 10 years. I can't live with my foot on the accelerator, never resting and perseverating over the memory, having the memory challenge my heart and my wisdom and my pain and fear and reactionary, all this cascade of elements. I can't do it anymore. That was the etiology of the invention path that began in 1990 by Dr. Holloway. Now, why would it take someone 31 years to create something? Well, it's really quite simple in its complexity. The brain is the most complex organ in the history of this planet, and there's a lot of complexity on this planet. The brain is so complex. We know very little about the brain, but when we do know this, we're like, wow, this thing is amazing. The compensatory nature of it, all these cascading elements, all these things, the central nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, we know all these things about it. If you are going to entertain the concept of managing the human brain, it is going to take a complex solution. Therein lies the 31-year path. So Dr. Holloway, this gifted human being, quantum physicist, naturopath, neuroscientist, clinical practice for over 40 years, serving the brave men and women who went out to the theater of war and came back damaged physiologically in their brain chemistry and physiology. Their hippocampus shrunk, their prefrontal cortex shrunk, their ability to be responsive instead of reactionary, their ability to have access to their personality, character, presence, and patience, gone. He went on this path. And when we'd interview him, it was fascinating because he's not a man of ego. He wasn't here to say, hey, I'm going to build something that's amazing and people are going to love me and pay homage to me for the rest of my life. And I'm going to win a Nobel Peace Prize posthumous. That was never the drive. It was never what we intended to do. His intention was simply, I am not going to sit here and pretend that this conventional therapy for these people that have sacrificed their time, effort, and lives to serve us and condemn them to a life of hell and misery. I'm not going to do it. So NuCalm isn't designed as a savior. It's not the cure-all, be-all, end-all. There's a really cool, meticulous element to NuCalm that people should really understand, and that is your body is the miracle here. Your brain is the miracle. That 40 million years of neuronal circuitry, continuous improvement, the 4 million years here of evolution of mankind against primates, amazing. Your body knows how to heal. It's this crazy mind of ours that doesn't allow us the opportunity to allow our bodies to heal. So we have what's called monkey mind, where we're getting 1,000 thoughts an hour, most of them not our own. Most of them that come in, boom. And we pick and choose. We pick and choose what triggers us. We pick and choose which to delete and which to grab onto. And unfortunately, the human brain seems highly, highly anxious to be pissed off. We love negativity over positivity. Doesn't that amaze you? Think about the social psychology of a great day. It's Tuesday right now. Had an amazing day, got up early, did all this amazing stuff, and then 2 negative interactions throughout the day. And tonight, as I'm lying down, I'm going to perseverate over those 2 things when I had 1,000 good things happen. Huh? That's crap. I wish our brains didn't operate like that. And I can't tell you why that is. And there's nothing in the literature that determines why that is. So if we don't know why it is, we can't really change it yet. But that's our reality. We gravitate to the negative. There's no 80-20 rule. It's more like 99% and 1%. That 1%, we're like, hey, is it approval addiction? Is our desire to help save the world? I have no idea why that is, but that's what it is. So NuCalm was derived to allow the body to do what it's intended to do. Balance. That seesaw needs to be in balance. Most humans operate with their foot on the accelerator. So think about a seesaw with a 400-pound person on the sympathetic side and a 12-pound person on the parasympathetic side. That 12-pound person's in the air the whole time. There's no balance. Without that balance, we are psychologically, emotionally, and physically compromised for the entirety of our life. We're going to go to our grave not really satisfied with the accomplishments that we did and the life we lived because we were constantly in this state of fight or flight, or constantly in this state of worry. We're constantly in this state where every night when we lay our head down to bed, we're dissatisfied and we don't feel good about ourselves because we didn't accomplish our to-do list. This is insanity. I challenge each and every one of you tonight, as you're going through and you're listing through your to-do list, and identify which of those is changing the world. Which of those, when you pass 10, 20, 30 years from now, you'll remember as well, that was a key moment in my life. That poignancy and that to-do piece was amazing. No, it wasn't. Yet, we go to bed and we wake up at 3 in the morning, we perseverate over shit we can't solve at 3 in the morning, we stay awake for another hour, then we start getting agitated with ourselves, we do cortisol in the middle of the night, then we wake up and we're like, wow, I'm overwhelmed because Monday I didn't get all my to-do list done. What's on your to-do list that's literally going to change your life? Probably nothing. So why are we worried about it? Why are we in this constant state? NuCalm is designed to liberate us from the chaos of the monkey mind. And once this is done, we have the opportunity for our body to do what our body knows how to do, get us into balance. It's amazing. That's what this does. So NuCalm isn't here to cure you, heal you. No, it's here to liberate you and allow you the opportunity for your body to get in the balance it covets and needs for you to live your best life, for you to be emotionally available, to be patient and present in your life, to be physically well, emotionally stable. That's what this is. That's amazing. I don't know if that was the intention. And, you know, you look at everything on an invention path and you look at something that took a long time and you're wondering, hey, did Dr. Holloway know all this? I don't think so. But for the past 20 years, we've been working through this. And for the past 12 years, I've been running this company, evaluating this with 52 of the world's top doctors, trying to reverse engineer all of it and figure it out. We still can't figure it out. So the level of complexity is part brilliance, part determination, and probably part luck and magic. Who knows? NuCalm will liberate your mind and allow your body to heal. This is really important for everyday function in the military, active DOD, veterans, first responders, all of us who've chosen a path that puts the foot on the accelerator all the time. This gives you 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 minutes of rest, healing. And you remember that sweet spot, the second stage of sleep, theta, where the cells clean their toxins and the mitochondria is restored? That's the key. So the rescue tracks in the NuCalm neuroacoustic software put you into theta as long as possible to allow you to heal. So NuCalm was built to solve PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, mostly comorbid with addiction, not because that person's weak, but because the central nervous system knows that I can get out of psychic pain within minutes with the kindness of alcohol to my lips and down my throat into my tummy and into my bloodstream. That's how that all works. So how does NuCalm work? The whole concept here is to slow down your brainwave function. And we're going to talk about something called brainwaves. That's, again, intangible. Most of you will have no idea what we're talking about, no real understanding because you can't touch it and feel it. So we're going to use some analogies as well. But the human brain and the body and our behavior is commensurate with math. The human function on a daily basis has a range of 41 hertz. And when your brainwave function is a certain frequency, your body and your mind are doing something specific to that number. This is math. One of the cool things about physiology is there's a logic path to most of it, and there's mathematics, and it's black and white. It's not up for debate. So let's go through the 41 hertz. Let's start at the slowest waveform. So a really slow waveform, 0.5 hertz is the slowest waveform for a human brain. 0.5 hertz to 4 hertz is deep sleep. Deep sleep as in dreamless, like body's in a state of coma, gravitational force on your body. I'm 225 pounds. If you tried to wake me up in Delta, I'm probably like 400 pounds, okay? Dreamless, like deep sleep. Then we go up a little bit in the speed of our frequency to 4 hertz and 7 hertz. 4 hertz and 7 hertz is theta, T-H-E-T-A. Theta is the coup de grace and the healing zone for humanity. It's also commensurate with the second stage of sleep. So when my brainwave function is oscillating between 4 and 7 hertz, some really cool things are happening. Reparations for all of my sins of high stress and poor sleep. My cells are cleaning their toxins, doing their daily maintenance, and my mitochondria is being restored. So the trillions of cells in my body biologically know the information they need to share to other cells, and everything works in this high functioning ecosystem of brilliance. That's theta. Then we go a little faster, and we go 8 hertz to 12 hertz. 8 hertz to 12 hertz is alpha. Many of you have heard of alpha brainwave function. Many of you have no idea what that means. Alpha brainwave function is the first stage of sleep, commensurate with creativity, being in the zone, relaxation, and transcendental meditation. Interestingly enough, and not by coincidence, the Earth's magnetic rotation, called the Schumann resonance, is 7.83 hertz. Your body cavity oscillates at 7.83 hertz. It's all related. We are related geometrically to the Earth. So 7.83 hertz is grounding. So when someone said to you, hey, we've kind of lost the sense and connectivity to the Earth, and the connectivity to the Earth will help with our DNA and our structure and our health and our healing and our resiliency and our longevity, but we live in pavement and we live in buildings and we have rubber sneakers on and we're not connected to the Earth, we're not getting grounding. So they tell you, hey, take your socks and shoes off and stand on the Earth for 30 minutes and you'll ground. They're not telling you why. All it is to pick up the Earth's magnetic rotation, which is the Schumann resonance of 7.83 hertz, all related. That is alpha. Then we're going to step into beta. Beta is the longest range of the human function and the biology and physics of our brainwave function. 12 hertz to 15 hertz is alert, functioning adult. Okay, so hey, things are okay. Maybe you could dip into a little sleepiness. Maybe I'm feeling pretty good. 15 hertz to 20 hertz is focused. So when I am distraction free, focused, and I'm really honed in, that's 15 to 20 hertz. Now, unfortunately, the human brain can only sustain about 20 to 25 minutes of this focus without kind of fatiguing and reaching diminished returns. But 15 to 20 hertz is focus. 20 to 25 is stress. 25 to 30 is really stress. And 30 to 38 is you are stressed out of your marbles. You are in full fight or flight, panic attack, no cognition. Body's about to have a heart attack. It won't have a heart attack, but you're about to. Okay. That's the human brainwave function. Till we get into gamma. Gamma is this really cool aspect of humanity where 39 to 41 hertz, above the highest anxiety spectrum, is this really cool spot. It's a tight band and it's very fast, 39 to 41 hertz. It's called gamma, and gamma is commensurate with higher consciousness, but more importantly, high intensity, mistake-free focus. Wow, I'd love to be there. I'd love to have absolute certainty, determination, and conviction to deal with and do and perform anything I want to do. Nothing's going to stop me. So when my brain is at 40 hertz, I am in high intensity, mistake-free focus. That is the landscape of humanity, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not up for debate. So William and Steve and David, when your brainwave function is at 40, you are performing at your highest optimal level. When your brainwave function is at 20, you're focused. 12, you're dipping in and out of sleep. 10, you're creative. 8, you're resonating with the Earth's magnetic rotation. 6, you're healing. You're in the second stage of sleep, lucid dreams. And 1 hertz, you are in deep, dreamless-like sleep. Not up for debate. That's how the world works. Now, historically, humans, in our pedestrian nature of trying to figure out how to activate, we've had to use external stimuli. I drink coffee. I like coffee. I like the ritual of coffee. I don't really like the acid in my stomach, and sometimes the taste is bitter, but I love coffee. Okay. I love coffee. When I wake up, I'm lethargic and I drink a cup of coffee and all of a sudden, boo, I'm ready to go. It's not magic. This isn't a miracle. It simply increased my brainwave frequency, probably to 15 to 18 to 19 hertz. Great. If I want to relax, you'll have a warm glass of milk. I don't drink milk. Milk doesn't make sense to me. The idea of drinking another mammal's milk is weird. You know, you don't drive by a farm and see a cat suckling from a pig's breast. I mean, what? That's called marketing. I'm not a milk drinker. I won't be a milk drinker. But there's a lot of people that drink warm milk thinking, hey, the casein tryptic hydrolysate in the milk and that protein is going to allow me to relax. Or you drink tea, or you take a bath, or you read a book. You getting the idea? We've always had to rely on other things to activate our brainwave function. Blake, in his brilliance, said, this doesn't have to be this way. We can actually reverse it. Why don't we dial up and down the brainwave function to the place we know is the outcome we want? Therein lies the brilliance of the path of how do we get to NuCalm. Now, nothing's easy. So when you say, hey, 31 years, that's a long time. 31 years is a long time. I'm 52. I turned 53 this week. That's a long time. But that's how long it took. NuCalm has 3 components. All the components work synergistically. And one of the cool things about the 5-year patent process with some of the best mathematicians and scientists in the world is we had to prove, without a shadow of a doubt, irrefutable quantified evidence to an intellectual property attorney with the USPTO that what we created was not 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. What we created was a synergistic outcome that was more like 1 + 1 + 1 = 7. and it equals 7 every time. That was the cool process of really starting to understand how it all works together. NuCalm is a systematic approach to commandeering and gently guiding your brainwave function to a sweet spot called alpha and theta, theta being the healing zone. To do this, it's going to take a complexity that the world had not seen before, and that's exactly what we did. So the first element of NuCalm is in the form of a biosignal processing disc, this disc on my wrist. Before I got on here and before I put on this green shirt, kind of mimicking military, right? I NuCalm for 20 minutes. Now 20 minutes I did because I only had about 25 minutes. When I do NuCalm, I always do rescue and I always do longer, but I didn't have enough time and I wanted to be really fresh for you ladies and gentlemen today. This disc is what you could call the great equalizer. This disc is one of the reasons that NuCalm is so predictable, strong, and powerful over the course of time. For 12 years and a couple months, actually 12 years and 5 months, I have been using NuCalm on a regular basis. My body still has not figured out the patterns. My brain still hasn't figured out the patterns. I've built no resistance to it. But every time I do this, I want to have the maximum output. So your brain is amazingly gifted at resistance. Your body does not want to be invaded. So all these cells, closed loop ecosystem, I don't want anything. I don't want you touching me with anything. Externally through eating or drinking, a medicament through a pill or a liposomal thing under my tongue or transdermal cream or an injection or a surgical procedure. My body doesn't want to be invaded for anything. And my brain knows that it's coming. Okay, so we have resistance. And when we work with high, operators, elite military operators, we know that they're coming from a place of testosterone and adrenaline and catecholamines and fear and strength and courage. They're like this. We also know working with stage 4 cancer, having that fear and the complexity of the medical system and the confusion and all these different opinions and this whole thing looming over my head called cancer and this big C and death. And it's insane. They're crazy scared. Okay, we're going to help each profile of human, from a newborn to a 150-year-old man. We're going to help each and every one of you. But to do that, we can't really fight this, because if we try to fight this, we'll never be predictable. Neurobiofeedback's been around for 80 years. Today, it's still not predictable, and it never will be, because whoever is administering it or studying it or driving this to the world doesn't really understand the complexity of the brain and the compensatory nature of the brain. Because if you're just going to use stimulation, you're not going to win. Why? Because the body's adrenaline will make it unpredictable across me. Every day I'm different. Every hour of each day I'm different. And the population. You will never have a predictable outcome with any technology that's just doing stimulation. Electromagnetic, transcranial direct current stimulation, doesn't matter. This is the complexity of the brain, and we need to have the humility to understand the complexity of the brain to determine a product or a solution that's actually going to commandeer the brain. Neurobiofeedback, for all its virtues, will never be predictable, period. Some people need 4 episodes, some people need 70, some people have longitudinal positive impact, some people it dissipates as soon as they leave. Why is that? This disc is a great equalizer. This shuts down your HPA axis. Remember the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal cortex, that fight or flight mechanism, that central nervous system determines something is making me fearful, activates the autonomic nervous system using the HPA axis as its path. This shuts that down. It says, we're not interested, so go take a rest. When we shut down the adrenal cortex with this disc, we then put an eye mask on. We have 5 senses and we have our intuition. Intuition is probably stronger than the 5 senses, but of the 5 senses, your cerebral cortex is 80%, your visual cortex. 80% of that matter in your brain is your visual cortex. We're getting a ton of information, billions of packets of information from our eyes every day. So we're going to shut that down. We don't want you to be visually stimulated by light. You can't meditate, be relaxed, recuperate, restore, get into theta with your eyes open. And then the third element of NuCalm is the magic. The third element of NuCalm is the complexity. The third element of NuCalm is what took years and years and years to create. We are guiding your brainwave function using a mess, a literally absolute cornucopia of advanced mathematics, physics, and algorithms to trick the most sophisticated organ in the history of this planet. And we're going to present your brain with a beat right at the midbrain. You can't hear what we're doing. We're going to present it underneath really nice music, specifically built for the physics and the math. Each track takes us 6 to 9 months to do. It's like neurosurgery. We have a mathematical matrix. We have to build the music in certain keys and frequencies, and then we have to work with the math, the pitch and the frequency matrix. So you're going to listen to nice music. Underneath the music is a ton of information, tricking your brain and simply slowing you down into alpha and then into theta. A typical song, if I download a song, is about 5 megabytes, maybe 6 or 7 megabytes. One NuCalm track, say Rescue 50, is 1.49 gigabytes. Gigabytes, thousands and thousands and thousands times greater than a song. We want to simplify NuCalm. We want to simplify NuCalm. We want to simplify NuCalm. We don't want people to be intimidated by the science. We simply want you to use something that's going to help resolve stress and help you live a better life. But people are inherently inquisitive and want to know what's going on, how to do it. We'll never be able to show you the complexity of what we've done. But hopefully through an analogy like that, you get an idea, okay, this isn't music. I can't just get something off Calm and Headspace and think I'm going to get into theta. That's a distraction and bedtime story. There's no science there. This is science. This is $33 million of research and development and 31 years of discovery, invention, research and development, continuous improvement to create the only patented neuroacoustic software in the world. You don't get a patent without proving novelty, that nothing else prior existed, and efficacy. We have that. We're not a marketing company, and shame on us for not going out and telling you guys how great we are. We spend all of our time, energy, and resources building the best mousetrap to protect us from ourselves, liberate stress from our brains, and allow us the opportunity to live a great life through science. That's what we've done. So NuCalm is a 3-component 1 + 1 + 1 = 7 synergy that manages the complexity and the compensatory nature of the body, understanding that for every action, there's a reaction, every reaction, another reaction, and all these different steps. And as a whole, puts you in this incredible place. And the experience, as you've come to learn, is pretty amazing. It's different every time because you're different every time. Your nutrition, your environment, your external stress, your sleep the night before, every day we're different. We're a dynamic vibrational entity. So I'll do NuCalm. And when I'm in there, invariably I fall asleep because I'm pushing too hard. Okay, I shouldn't fall asleep. I don't want to fall asleep. I want to levitate just above sleep, in that sweet spot of theta where my cells are restoring their toxins and my energy is being restored and I feel amazing. And then I go, and then all of a sudden I kind of pop too, and I lie there and try to reestablish where I'm at in the world. The other day I did NuCalm. I think I was in Miami. I didn't know where I was. It was late in the afternoon. And literally, I had to collect myself. Dave Poole, our chief business officer, often has these experiences as well because he pushes too hard and he stays up too late. But I literally had no idea where I was. And it took me a while to figure it out. That was crazy. That's a high stress, high push. And I knew 3 nights in a row, I got under 4 hours of sleep. And I was traveling and doing a lot of work, military and hotels and all this. So I was out of my marbles. That's unique. That doesn't happen to me often. But every time you do NuCalm, your mind wanders, your body feels heavy. We restore, you get up, you feel amazing. You feel like you took all your stress, put it in a tub, and then just opened up the drain and flushed all the stress down. Everything that was agitating me, everything that made me feel overwhelmed, everything that was making me feel like, hey, I'm never going to get through this, felt inconsequential. I felt really calm. I feel focused. I feel energized. I feel optimistic. That's NuCalm. NuCalm is a gift to humanity, and it is certainly a gift to the active military, DOD, veteran community, and first responders, where by virtue of your career choice, you've put yourself at mortal risk in the future of losing your resilience, losing your immune strength, and losing your battle against diseases, mostly immunosuppressive. You're going to find a lot of gut diseases amongst this population because you're constantly in cortisol and the microbiome of your gut is too acidic. There's a lot of things we can see. We can see all this meta-analysis and see all these patterns, say, hey, this isn't by choice that you're going to get this disease. It's simply physiology of breaking down on a cellular basis on a daily basis and not taking care of yourself. This technology was designed for you. is here for you and is really easy to use. One of the coolest things about running this empire is not the complexity of what we do, not the intellectual curiosity that's demanded of trying to figure out how to manage the brain. None of that's of consequence. What's of consequence to me is how do we make this affordable and how do we make this easy to use? I don't care for any of you to understand NuCalm. I've been running this company for almost 13 years. I don't understand NuCalm. We have some of the best scientists in the world evaluating NuCalm. They don't understand NuCalm. That is not of consequence. What I want you to understand is that you have to have a habit that takes the foot off the accelerator, do it on a daily basis, take care of yourselves, and over time you will notice, I am now more patient. I am now more present. I am less reactionary. I can't be agitated like I could. I sleep better. I feel better. I perform better. I'm a better dad. I'm a better lover. I'm a better friend. I'm a better employee. I'm a better employer. I'm a better anything because stress is no longer sabotaging me on a regular basis when I don't know when it's coming. You're going to live a better life. And all it requires of you is a safe place and time. Disc on your wrist, eye mask, pick a track on your app, headphones on, off you go, restore, recover, get up, and live an amazing life. So thank you for all that you do. Our gratitude and appreciation can't be overstated, and certainly words will not ever share with you how much what you do and the choices you've made to protect us and serve us means to us. So a big thank you to all of you. I hope that you will at least think about taking care of yourselves in a manner that's powerful. And I think a lot of times when we work with elite military operators, I caution them to think this isn't soft. There's nothing soft about dying a miserable death because you've lived a life of stress for too long. That's not soft. NuCalm isn't soft. It's the most advanced, patented, clinically proven neuroscience on the planet, and it's designed to be your best friend and a tool for you wherever you go, whenever you need it. It's going to take care of you. So Amy, thank you very much. We want to open it up to some questions. I can't see, so I have no idea, but I think the time says 4. So
it looks like it's 4:05 Eastern. There was one comment in the chat that I thought you might enjoy. Steve Olson said that meditation has become a competitive sport and that it's a little crazy.
Yes, I believe that. We humans can compete at anything. So competing in meditation is relatively hilarious. So I love it. And thank you, Steve Olson from Sputnik. I can see you.
I don't see any other questions in the chat. You can either put them in the chat or you're welcome to come off mute and ask them directly.
I have a question, Jim.
Yes.
Within this talk, you've brought up the EMS community more than once. Having had experience as a paramedic in an urban environment where you're constantly on a 24/48 shift, do you think in the future they would be worthwhile, or do you guys already have in the production mill, because I know you're always forward thinking, any kind of track that would allow the someone like in EMS that is on a 24-hour shift have something like that 20-minute or a 10-minute rest phase, but where if the alarm came up and they had to respond and be in the engine in 3 minutes and on the road in 3, is there any kind of track that you see NuCalm creating that would accommodate that sort of ability where they come back from a call, they're all stressed out, you bring them down to alpha or theta, but yet they can come back quickly if there's the klaxon hits again. That sort of environment is something that so many urban fire rescue and EMS and other first responders are exposed to. And I can speak from experience, you can have 24 calls in 24 hours. None of them are the same. And it could take 48 hours or even more to recoup from that. You're just spent, you're wasted. And it doesn't even have to be a culmination or a cascading effect of all these trauma calls. So many of them, half of them are, non-emergency. But at 2 a.m., you don't know until you get there and you do your primary and secondary. And I know tracking people's heart rate through this as a fitness provider for some fire rescue departments. The cortisol and the adrenal surge in the first 3 minutes of getting the call and getting en route, and, you know, rushing to either they don't know what. It really takes a while to come down off of. So I'm just wondering if there's been any kind of interest or any kind of consideration for a track like that, maybe specifically designed or tailored for EMS.
First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for spending a large part of your life helping. And you're fit and you actually help other people train other people. So we have done that, Bill, and it's called Recharge.
Great.
The challenge is really this. It's not, does the science work and how can I use it and how can I deploy it? It's, what is it and how do I get into the firehouse?
Mm-hmm.
It's really just about awareness today. So it's taken us 31 years and a lot of time and sacrifice. And I get that. And that's life. And there's no, you can't take shortcuts, right? The brain will figure out your shortcuts. So you can't cheat the system. It took us 31 years, but we're really just at the starting line. The recharge track is designed specifically for those who don't have time for rescue. Rescue is literally the universe's gift to humanity. Rescue will take care of all your ills, right? And it's not a miracle. The more ill we are, the longer it's going to take in time and usage. But rescue is the divine intervention of physics and biochemistry. But recharge is the gift of concentration. It's a concentrated version of rescue. Now, interestingly enough, Bill, we can't just take you into theta, especially a hypervigilant caretaker, a firefighter. Your central nervous system has a lot to contest with, and that hypervigilance. There's no way that you could, within a minute or two, take someone's brain to theta. Your central nervous system will reject that theory immediately. So even when we invented recharge, Blake, who's a gift, and we had such a bromance. We loved each other and we had mutual respect. It's funny, 11, 12 years ago, he looked at me and says, Jim, I'm going to make a deal with you. I said, what's that? He said, I'm going to keep you healthy and you're going to make me wealthy. Okay. He, in all of our time together, one time looked at me dismissive and absolutely disgusted with me. It was at the Consumer Electronics Show and we were NuCalming people for 40, 50, 60 minutes, but our tagline said, hey, get 2 hours restorative sleep in 20 minutes. And I said, hey, I know this is marketing and I know we're neuroscience, but there's a disconnect when I get up from NuCalm. It says 20 minutes, 2 hours restorative sleep. And I've been in for 46 minutes. Make me attract as 20 mints. And he looked at me in disgust. He says, you can't take the brain down that fast. You know nothing about what we've been doing for years. And I looked at him and says, I don't. I looked at him, you know what I said, Bill? I said, get it done. I know you can do it. And I walked away. Now, 6 months later, he created this. So when you do recharge, you'll notice you go down faster. You get to a place where you like almost pass out and then you pop up. So the rescue track, say, for example, Rescue 50, it takes us 14 minutes in that departure lounge to take you into theta, 14 minutes. And what we do is we step you down, step you up, step you down, step you up. What we're asking for, Bill, is permission from your central nervous system to relinquish control so we can take you to a healing place with no effort. Recharge takes you down faster. Within 6 minutes, you're down in theta. And you're in theta for 14 minutes, and then we come up the last couple minutes. So that recharge is the gift for all EMS, because in a 20-minute period, and you could even be on the fire truck. Our team has done NuCalm in the craziest places because we know, hey, I need 20 minutes. I can't perform. I'm exhausted. We're traveling too much. We're NuCalm in cars, front seats, back seats, never in the trunk, but maybe we should try that. Boyd, next time we'll try, we'll put you in the trunk. We'll put you on NuCalm. But the 20-minute recharge, disc eye mask recharge, the challenge, Bill, is simple. If you get a call, you have to have someone there to activate them up. But once you're up, once your eyes are aware, you're lucid within seconds. There's no, mental lethargy. So that's a great question. And it's really just about awareness and getting the word out there. I think the simplification of the process from a 4-component medical device to a 3-component consumer device, and then lowering the price by 99%. I think we're on the right path. We just need to get this in the hands of a lot more people.
Great. Excellent. Thank you.
Jim, David has his hand up. If you want to come off mute and ask your question, then I do have another question in the chat I'd like to address.
Can I be heard?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
My question is, I am 28 years in the military, but mostly as reservist. I don't have PTSD, whatever. I've been dealing with anxiety and with depression for about 16 months. You name the drug, I've been on it. I'm now on Remeron for about 40 days. It seems to me worse. My question is, to go to NuCalm, how do I gradually go off of something like Remeron?
That's a great question. And your body is going to help you dictate what you need to do, how you need to do it. We're never going to tell you when or how to titrate off. You know your body better than anybody does, right? And you know when you're titrating a drug and when you're not. The key is to get on NuCalm as much as possible and use rescue 50, 70, 100, 120 every single day. You're not going to be in there for 100 minutes. You're not going to be in there for 120 minutes. You'll be in there for as long as your body needs to restore and recover that day. But if you can build a consistent daily habit of NuCalm, you're going to find out two things. One, whatever medicament you're bringing into your body, because we're resolving your stress response, we're making your body more permeable to anything you take, okay? Number two, you're going to notice that we with NuCalm are addressing the autonomic nervous system. We're going to the root cause of the anxiety and depression that you're feeling, okay? Over the course of that time, you're going to figure out how you want to titrate off the medication. And it's up to you, but it happens relatively quickly. I just can't give you a defined period of time. I would guess from the thousands of people that we've worked with through antidepressants and anti-anxiety, within a couple months, you're done with any of it. Some people are so aggressive and so disgusted with the side effects, like an Ambien or whatever taker. They're like, listen, I'm not even going to take it, and I'm just going to, cut bait and go with this process. I don't recommend that just because it's dangerous when you're titrating off of any antidepressant or antipsychotic just to stop cold turkey. However, your body and the drugs have a half-life. So completely up to you. I can just tell you this with great confidence. NuCalm will resolve the root cause of the issue that's now been basically consuming you for 16 months, right? And it's a challenge, when we're at a balance and we lose control of what we thought was normal and we can't figure out what is going on. I know you're battling. I know you're battling in here, and I know you're battling in your body, and I know the people around you are battling it. Everybody's kind of alert to the fact that you're struggling right now. This will take care of you. Just get on it on a regular basis, and it's going to change everything about the anxiety piece. And when you can feel a trigger coming on of anxiety, NuCalm. And the one caveat I have for you is in NuCalm, we don't resolve every issue that's plaguing you. We don't. You can have anxious thoughts in NuCalm, but the beauty of it is your body cannot elicit that anxious response. It's bizarre. You can literally have a NuCalm experience and your mind is racing and you're like, oh, this is awful. And you'll get up and someone will say, hey, you were snoring or you were literally immobilized for 50 minutes. So don't allow the mind to belie the experience itself. Every time you're in NuCalm, mathematically, we know where your brain is at. And at minute 16 of rescue 50, you're in the deepest healing space. Your mind will kind of do and resolve what it needs to resolve, but just get on NuCalm on a regular basis. And when you're comfortable, begin to titrate away from the antidepressant.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Another question, Jim, from Lori. Does NuCalm actually heal a trauma-damaged brain, or is it ongoing maintenance only?
Boom. Lori, great question. This is like the miracle of the body and the mind. So this was designed for PTSD. We've served thousands of people traumatized. And herein lies the difference between the trauma, the magnitude of the trauma, the epigenetics of the person, the food, the environment, the support. There's a lot of variables. So I can't give you the recipe of 10 weeks, your trauma's gone. Here's how this works. And this is fascinating. Every time I'm in NuCalm, I'm oxygenating key areas of my prefrontal cortex. Every time I'm in NuCalm, I'm allowing new cognition, new neuronal coherence, and eventually I'm opening up blood flow to those areas that are traumatized where the blood flow has shrunken. The hippocampus, which is my memory center, and the prefrontal cortex. So think about this. NuCalm is not going to erase the trauma. doesn't erase the mind, right? This isn't the movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're not erasing anything. Here's what's going to happen over time. You're going to have the memory. We are disconnecting the physiological response, that pinging of the autonomic nervous system, that reptilian brain. It's amazing to me how complex and how amazing the body is. Trauma has a memory pattern that elicits the memory, and then I'm immediately back into that space in real time fighting for my life, and it elicits that whole physiological response. NuCalm suspends all of that, and over the course of time, some people, it's taken like 5 NuCalm experiences and the trauma is gone. It's like, that's incredible. Okay, there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's a lot of complexity to it, but over the course of time, and this is invariable, this will happen to every human being on earth, we will separate the body's ability to trigger that reptilian physiological response, and you will still have the memory. You just will not have, you'll have distance from it. You know, we have all been in relationships where we were so in love, and then when we weren't in love, boy, we loved them till we didn't. And you know, when they were trying to get back with you, there was no emotional connection at all. It's like left brain, I have no emotional connection. That feeling is the same to the trauma and the memory pattern elicited by PTSD. It's incredible. To me, that's the biggest miracle we offer the world. Because according to literature in the psychology journals, 1 in 4 females are traumatized and 1 in 5 males. I don't believe that at all. I think it's more like 1 in 2 and 1 in 3. We all have trauma. The magnitude is different, but we're all traumatized from some way, emotional, psychological, physical, whatever it is. This will separate that and put you on a path to healing and bring you back to the person you used to be before your body compensated for whatever abuse you sustained. It's incredible. Great question. Thank you for asking.
It looks like we've addressed all of the questions in the chat. I do want to mention that I put a website in the chat for everyone to check out if you need any additional information. It's heroes.nucalm.com. You can also, there's a link if you want to schedule a call and talk to somebody. One of our team members is a retired Navy SEAL.
And I'm looking at Boyd Relak, who's retired Special Forces.
That's right.
I'm still working. I'm not retired yet.
No, you're retired from Special Forces. You're civilian working.
Yeah.
And just for the record, ladies and gentlemen, it was honorable discharge. He left on his own free will.
A little whiteout goes a long way. Hey, Jim, one caution statement. You know, the military, when I learned how to train, they give you the term, you got to teach the caution statement. So Bill, to your question about first responders, a couple of weeks ago, we were at Quantico, we were training the new operator class for the HRT. One thing is once they come out of their 20-minute recharge or 30-minute rescue, they need to take the disc off because that'll keep that, you know, flow of cortisol down, and they actually need to turn back on.
Right, great.
But
Great word of caution. I knew Boyd was on here for a reason, besides him stepping up for him trying NuCalm in the trunk of a car next road trip.
It won't be the worst place I've been.
Thank you.
You won't need your eye mask, will you?
You guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And ladies, Lori, wonderful to be with everybody. And as you can tell, it's pretty cool what we've created. And it's really fun to be in a place where we can take care of people. And we do this every day. And it's amazing. And it's a gift. And it's an honor. And it's a privilege. It's just amazing. So thank you very much, everybody, for all you do. We appreciate you.